What is up, guys? This is Casey and welcome back to the channel. So today we're going to be discussing the stimulus update progress. We have a couple of things that have transpired today that I want to share with you guys. The main thing being Treasury Secretary Stephen Mnuchin has actually testified before a House committee over the Corona relief package. Now, he started testifying today at 1 o'clock p.m. And the reason he did is because there was a House Select Committee that was created for Mnuchin to discuss why they have yet to come to an agreement on a stimulus package. Now, if you guys are not familiar with Mnuchin, he is the Treasury Secretary, and this is his first negotiations over the additional stimulus, over the additional stimulus negotiations since talks have stalled between the White House and the Democratic lawmakers. Now, while the nation's top Republicans are arguing that the improving economic data and the already expensive CARES Act justify a smaller subsequent relief package, the Democrats are contending that the GOP has just failed to appreciate the severity of the pandemic. And so today, Treasury Secretary Mnuchin went before Congress at 1 o'clock today and just basically gave his argument as to why they've yet to come to an agreement. And the reason that I think that the Congress has created this committee today, or subcommittee, is because they want to kind of get to the bottom line to determine which side is more accurate. Now, at the end of the day, both sides are going to be looking at the data. And when I mean data, I'm referring to the unemployment numbers. And as I stated in my previous video, the unemployment numbers have been steadily dropping. Now, that's a good and a bad thing. Obviously, the unemployment numbers dropping is a good thing. But what's concerning is we are technically in a recessionary period. And usually you don't have a low unemployment numbers that are taking place in a recession period, and you don't have a significant hiring that's taking place. Normally you have companies that are shaving off and that are doing a lot of cuts. And if you look online, you'll notice that a lot of companies have actually been shaving and doing lots of cuts and layoffs. And so we're in this very weird period to where the Republicans are saying that we don't need additional funding right now, that the economy is okay, but yet we are in a recession. But yet, the unemployment numbers are very high, but yet they're slowly decreasing. And so if you really take a step back and look at this from a macroeconomic standpoint, both sides are actually right and wrong at the same time. And I think that's what's making these negotiations so very contentious. Now, the good thing is that they have identified what the main hangup is, and that is the funding for the state and local governments. So, as I stated in my previous video, the Democrats want to provide like $900 billion for the state and local state and local governments, and the Republicans want to provide like $200 billion. Now, the Democrats of that $900 billion, they basically want to provide stimulus for not only this year, but the following year after, and the Republicans are like, no, let's take it 1 year at a time. Now, at the end of the day, I think that they're going to continue to just wait until we get to the election period, and then I think things are going to just, come to a head at that point. The second really important thing that happened today is the U.S. CDC. They have issued sweeping halts on residential evictions to combat the virus. That's very interesting. So the CDC, which you think really handles international or national infections and outbreaks and stuff like that to make sure that we don't all get infected by some zombie virus or something. I didn't know this, but they actually have the ability to issue halts on evictions if they think that if they think that it's going to cut down on a particular spread of an infection for the health of the country. And they issue that. So they issued the halt on the evictions for 43 million Americans, renters specifically, that if you met the eligibility requirements, that to where you cannot be evicted up until 31st of this year. And that applies to individual renters who do not expect to earn more than $99,000 this year, or up to $198,000 for joint filers. Now, the reason this is very interesting is because I can't recall a time in our history, at least not recently, to where the CDC has kind of stepped into the issuing moratoriums on evictions. Those things just don't kind of go hand in hand. So the fact that they've done that really tells you that they are really concerned about containing this continual infections, and wanted to ensure that this doesn't continue to spread and they want to kind of take the control out of the hands, I guess, of the government. Now, the very interesting thing about this is that President Trump, a few weeks back, did also issue an executive order on halting moratoriums as well. And so I don't know if this is just more of kind of like a publicity piece, or if there were some concerns that the executive order wasn't going to necessarily get passed completely, or exactly what was going to take place with that. But clearly, the CDC felt necessary for them to issue their own sweeping moratorium on evictions. So, where are we in these whole negotiations at this point? The straight answer is I don't think anyone knows. If you ask Stephen Mnuchin and if you ask Mark Meadows, they're stating that the Democrats, once again, are not coming to the table and not being reasonable. And then if you ask Nancy Pelosi, she's stating that the Mark Meadows and Stephen Mnuchin are not being reasonable and they're not taking the severity of the situation in hand. And so usually I think we're just going to come to a halt. We're going to probably wait until things come to a head. I think probably in the next few weeks as we get a little bit closer to the elections. And then I think at that point something's going to happen. Now, another heads up here is that apparently with the executive order that Donald Trump issued back on August 8th, part of that executive order was for the CDC to stop the evictions. And so it appears as though that there may have been some overlap with that, and that's kind of why the CDC took place. I think overall, guys, we're going to have to just kind of take this wait and see approach. It has just kind of been, it's at this point, it's been at a snail's pace ever since Congress has gotten back from recess. They took a few weeks off. They've gotten back. There's been one main phone call, and that's kind of where we are with this. Now, in addition to this, there was talk after talk after talk after talk about a second stimulus check. As a matter of fact, that seemed to be the only thing that they both agreed on, both sides, was the stimulus check. Well, now it turns out that they're not talking about stimulus checks anymore. And I'm like, well, what the heck happened to those? So it's all over the place. This is a moving target. The news is very fluid, and it could be, it could be totally different come tomorrow. So if we have anything that's significant to provide for you guys, I certainly will be sure to provide an update. Other than that, I do appreciate you guys tuning in. Hopefully you guys subscribe to the channel if you like the content. Hopefully you like the video. Thumbs that up. And I will talk to you guys later. Thanks for watching, and take care.